Good morning to you all. My name is Vladimir, and I'm the president of the MEXTESOL Mexico City chapter. I want to welcome everyone to this series of webinars and interviews that have been created for you as part of our first regional virtual series, ELT Alternatives, Enriching Your Career Beyond the Classroom. I want to thank the local committee, our sponsors, the speakers who are joining us today for this series next week and in 2 weeks, everyone, all of you who are invested in your professional development, and because you are the main reason why we've organized such events for the last 17 months. And especially someone who has been a great support for the last 2 years while holding the presidency of this chapter. Emmanuel, for without you, none of this would have been possible. The series today has been divided in 3 parts. Today, in part 1, we will be learning about how certain circles of influence can lead to our professional development. Also, we'll be exploring how to integrate some future skills for young learners inside the classroom so as to have a major impact outside it. And your questions about becoming a professional translator will be answered too. Next Saturday, for part 2, we will discover the challenges and opportunities of becoming a teacher trainer, as well as the skills which are necessary for the management department. In addition, sessions focused on how to personalize content for our classes and questions about why, what, and how a paradigm shift is needed in our education today. Finally, for part 3, in 2 weeks, we will be dealing with the triumphs of publishing books and learning management systems sessions. All of our speakers are professional and experienced in our fields, working either in our capital city, in different states from our own country, and even foreign countries, such as Argentina, Colombia, and Venezuela. For all of you watching, we want you to have an active role during these sessions. So I encourage you to write your questions in the chat, as we will be answering all of them. Share this with your friends and colleagues. Give us a like, love, or care in the post. Follow us on our YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter accounts, because diploma of attendances will be sent to those who are registered and who can be accounted for participation in the social media. Also, I would like to invite everyone who's interested in becoming part of our local committee to send us an email with your CV, and we can do the process so we can integrate you in our team. Without further ado, let's begin this 9th event organized by this chapter since 2018. 9 magnificent and rewarding sessions for the very first regional virtual series. Welcome, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Giro Ortega, and I have the pleasure of introducing Arturo de la Vega. Arturo de la Vega has been an English teacher for over 20 years. He has ample experience as a teacher, teacher trainer, program coordinator, and more. He has presented at national and international events several times. He finds it highly satisfying to see novice teachers develop and grow. He also enjoys sharing experiences with colleagues to reflect on the teacher learning process. So without further ado, I'd like to present Arturo de la Vega and his talk, Circles of Influence, a starting point for professional development. Arturo?
Thank you very much, Giro. Thank you, Vladimir, for the invitation. Hello, everybody. We're using this platform where I can see your comments. I don't see everybody who's connected, but I do see the comments. So good morning, Liz. Good morning, Abel, Anaí, Arenita Rose, Andres, Evelyn, etc. I see many comments. I can see your comments. If you have any questions, any comments, any suggestions, go ahead and type them in the different chats, either YouTube or Facebook. I see most of you are on Facebook right now. Talia is in YouTube. Great. And I'll try to address your questions. I'll try to answer any doubts. You will see me looking at the at the space like this way. It's not that I'm ignoring the camera or I'm neglecting the camera. I'm working with two monitors. I highly recommend it for any of you who are teaching digitally. I got my laptop and I connected a second monitor. So I got my slides over there and I have the talk over here. The stream, sorry, over here where I can read your comments. So that's why you will sometimes see me do this. Like Guido said, my talk is called Circles of Influence. And this is a concept which I came across 3 years ago in an international convention in England. I was lucky enough to be going over there, IATEFL convention. And I came across this concept and I loved it. I found it really, really practical. It's a very good starting point, like I said, for developing professionally and for knowing where we stand and where we want to go from here. So I'd like to, yes, there you go. Tell you a little bit about me. I'm 43 years old. I am a teacher from Mexico City, but I was raised in San Luis Potosí, Mexico. I would say I followed the informal path. I spoke English. They offered me a job as an English teacher. I took it. I hadn't even finished high school back then. And I started teaching. And I did not get a licenciatura until many years later, when I thought it was time to formalize my studies, my learning, my experience. And I actually took it through Ceneval, Acuerdo 286, Profesionalización, Certificación de la Experiencia a través del conocimiento a través de la experiencia. I'm sorry, I'm messing that up. I love trail running. On weekends, I go run in the mountains around San Luis Potosí. There are many. It's a rather flat area, but we do have some. I work at Escuela Normal de Estudios Superiores del Magisterio Potosino. It's a rather long name, so I work at ENESMAPO. I have presented both national and internationally. I have presented at TESOL and IATEFL conventions, and I have presented at MEXTESOL several times. I was trying to count the number of presentations I've given, and it's close to 20 already in these kinds of conventions. I was invited by MEXTESOL this last October, and I was very happy to get that invitation to present. I told you I started late. I got my licenciatura at the age of 30, more or less, but I already have an especialidad too. I did have CODI and a TESOL degree or diploma for teaching before that. You can see what I look like when I'm working, yes, but I decided to put up a picture of me when I'm resting. I long for these days when you can go out. This is actually in Tequisquiapan, Querétaro. 2 years ago, I think. I was laying down on a hammock. So, but what about you guys? Where are you visiting us from? I have an activity. I hope you can all multitask, and I hope you can open 2 or 3 windows at a time. Thank you very much, MEXTESOL chapter Mexico City. The links are there. Can we all go to Padlet? And can you show me where you are from? I'm going to show you what this Padlet looks like. This Padlet is a world map. You can zoom in and zoom out. You need to click on the right corner here, the right top corner where you have the plus sign, and it will ask you to look for a place or drag a pin. So you can just drag it and you can say you're visiting from Canada, for example. It will ask you where you're at, if this is a place you are finding. So you click there, and then it opens the editing. So if you could write your name, the place you work at, or something like that, that would be lovely. Some people are writing it in the chat. That is good. That's okay. But can you help us with the Padlet? I think it's going to be an interesting activity. If you can come to Padlet, and I'd like to see the pins. Great. Somebody's already pinning Mexico City, I suppose. Remember to write name, the school, the institute you work at. I don't know, maybe your age or something. We'll leave that there. I see Leonor, Dulce, Monica, Olga. Thank you. You say you're from Mexico City, Estado de Mexico. Can you help us and do it in the Padlet? That would be lovely. Great. I see more pins. This is the link, and the link is in the chat already. If you just scroll up a little bit, you will see the chat, the link there. Somebody's from Toluca. Great. Well, not necessarily from Toluca, but in Toluca. Adriana Luna, my good friend, how are you? Monica E is asking how to get into Padlet. They sent a link, Monica. I don't know if we can send it again. Can somebody help me send the link again? Somebody's in Veracruz, somebody's in Toluca. 2 people are in Mexico City, another one in Toluca. Great. Excellent. Tenancingo. Nice. I know Tenancingo. I was there for a wedding. Well, this can keep on going and we can get back to this. Somebody else is from San Luis. Who's that? That's me. And who's the other one from San Luis? It's not double up. I did not do it twice. Monica Carreon. Nice. Hello, Monica. Okay. Second activity, I'd like to hear from you. Can we go to Poll Everywhere? They're going to help me with the link as well. Can we go to poll.com-Arturo de la V with an E 7240. And can you please answer how you're feeling today? How are you guys feeling today? I see 2 responses there. Thank you. Talia says she's in Cuernavaca but couldn't put the pin. That's okay, Talia. Don't worry. Help us with the next one. This next one, paulev.com-Arturo de la Vega. This one on the screen. I'm going to be using at the end of the talk again. So if you can leave it open, that would be great. Have your 2 screens if that's easy for you. And we can go back to this. Mirna says she's very nice. The weather in her town is nice too, and she's from Comonfort, Guanajuato. Hello, Mirna. Well, okay. How long have you been teaching? Answer that question in the polls too. I'm gonna close the previous one and activate this one now. So if you've been teaching for less than 3 years, choose option A. If you've been teaching from 3 to 5 years, option B, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, more than 15 years. I want to see who's around, how long we've been around. Great. I see your results coming in. Excellent. Great. Okay. And again, I can leave this open and I can check in it a little while. Let's continue. What are my session goals? I would like to give you a couple of definitions on professional development. I'd like to discuss different stages of professional development. And I would like to analyze this concept of circles of influence. So professional development in the Cambridge Dictionary is training that is given to, training that is given to managers and people working in professions to increase their knowledge. So this is a very formal definition, and this is talking about formal training. Training where you get a certificate, training where you get diplomas, training, organized training that is probably paid for, whether it's by you or by your institute. That didn't convince me 100%. And this is not the definition that I am married to, because I also think that professional development comes from other sources rather than just training. So I did some more research and I came across two other definitions. One, they're both a little informal, and maybe that's why they include the informal definition of professional development, but they do talk about developing and improving skills. The second one, the one that talks about informal learning opportunities situated in practice, comes from an informal site, Wikipedia. But I do think professional development is a little bit of everything. It's training, it's self-reflection, is self-study, self-learning as well, peer collaboration. Even, when you volunteer to participate at a talk and you talk to your colleagues after the talk about how it went, how you felt, if you think you should have done something differently, I think that is professional development as well. So I'm thinking professional development can be formal or informal. There are advantages and disadvantages, and I wanted to contrast some of these things. For example, professional studies, a licenciatura, versus empirical learning. I went through the empirical path, I was telling you. I started over here. And I think the main disadvantage of empirical learning is time. It's a very slow process. It takes a long time to learn maybe the names of methodologies, the names of techniques, the names of things you're doing, which you're doing and you're probably doing well, but you don't know exactly what they're called. And it's difficult to put a name to things when you start teaching without any credentials. With professional studies, you spend 4 or 5 years in a licenciatura, but you learn all that theory. With empirical learning, you get hands-on experience in the classroom and you develop classroom management much faster than you do when you study a licenciatura. So there are advantages and disadvantages. The same when it comes to courses and certifications versus just chatting with a colleague. They both have advantages and disadvantages. At the master's and PhD level, I definitely think this is it is definitely more organized, better structured, and it will definitely be faster. It's 2 years here and 2 years here than if you wanted to do self-learning. You might not have a clear plan. You might not know where to go. So if we're talking about studies, courses, certifications, there are two paths you can follow, and there isn't a right path. It's not like everybody has to go through the same. It's not the same for everybody. Some people skip the master's and they go for a direct PhD. There are courses, there are programs that have doctorado directo. If that's what's good for you, that's what's good for you. So don't feel bad. Don't feel you're not good enough or you're not experienced enough to start sharing, because the credentials are one thing. Your experience is a different thing. I went through a period like that in my life and I said, okay, I have a lot of experience. I've been teaching for over 15 years and I want to start sharing, but I don't have an especialidad. I don't have a master's degree like others. I don't have a PhD. It shouldn't stop you guys. Don't let that happen to you. Don't let that feeling get to you. Your institution can also be a source for professional development. I worked at a school that had a very clear path. I said hi to my friend Adriana Luna. She worked with me there. We worked together in that institute. And in that institute, you had a very clear path to follow because that's the way it was over there. From being a teacher, you could become a counselor, that is helping newer teachers grow or develop. Then you could become an observer. Then you could become a trainer. So they already had that plan laid down for you. But in many institutes, there isn't a plan. And in many institutes, professional development depends on you. It's your responsibility. Why is professional development important? Having 10 years of experience is not the same as having experienced the same year 10 times. This is in a book I recently read. You could have been teaching for 10 years the same stuff over and over and over, and not reflecting on anything, and not learning on any, not growing professionally speaking. So can you really say that you have 10 years of experience, or would you say that you have experienced the same year 10 times? That's an interesting concept. I'd like you to reflect on that. I found it very, very interesting. So why is professional development important? I honestly believe we are all English teachers, or most of us are English teachers. I'm going to go back to the chat. Let me just find my way around here, my screens. And I'd like to see, yes, professional development. Sorry, we're all English teachers. So we sell English classes, right? Would you agree with me? We sell English classes. We sell, when somebody says, what's your product? If you want to put it that way, if we were a factory or a company selling a product, we sell English classes. Yes, but what is your brand? I think your brand is your name. My brand is Arturo de la Vega. That is what I'm selling. I'm selling English classes with the name Arturo de la Vega. MEXTESOL invited Arturo de la Vega give a talk. And I don't say this as bragging, but I say it because professional development will help you have a catalog of tools, a catalog of workshops, a catalog of activities that you can offer different institutes. You can offer different your students, different levels of students. You can offer your colleagues. So you need to work on your product. Your product, yes, is English classes, but sometimes you want to go beyond the English classes, and your name, your brand name is your name. Your name is what you need to develop. And you need to be able to say, yes, I'm Arturo de la Vega, I'm an English teacher, but I have done all these things in my career, and I can help you with management. I can help you with coordination. I can help you with training. I can help you with different levels of instruction. I can teach basic levels. I can teach kids. I can teach grown-ups. And that is what professional development is, I think. Now, do you have any questions? Do you have any comments about professional development? I think this was just more like a review. Gonna give you all about 20, 30 seconds. I'm gonna take off my jacket. It was cold in the morning, but it's not anymore. And I'm sweating now. Too much information. I know I shouldn't have said that. That's okay. Well, let's move on then. So if we talk about the concept of circles of influence as a starting point for professional development, I'd like you to imagine a circle of people around you. If you go into meters, think about 1 meter, 2 meters, 5 meters, 10 meters, but it's kind of the idea, right, of the diameter of a circle. So a circle of influence is this imaginary circle of people around you that you get to influence through your actions, your opinions, your decisions, your instruction. That's what I want to talk about today. So, what do you think is the first circle of influence? If you can write it in the chat, that would be great. What is the first circle? What is the first stage? What is the first group of people you can influence? What is the first person you can influence? Family and friends, devours, yes, but think professionally. Evelyn agrees that it's family, our family. Mates, says Evelyn. Peers, says Dewars. I hope I'm saying your name well, correctly. Alejandro is now talking about students. As teachers, we truly make a change influencing not only our students, but also whole families, colleagues. I like that comment, yes. Learners. I think everybody's skipping the one very important person, that is you. You influence yourself. When you accept an invitation, when you Jorge Guillen is fine. Jorge is fine. Okay. When you accept an invitation, when you agree to do something, when you decide to do something, you are affecting, you're influencing yourself. And that is the very first circle, I think. If you decide to go on to study a master's degree, if you decide to give a presentation, if you don't decide, don't agree, if you turn down an invitation, that is influencing, that is affecting you. And that is the very first circle we can concentrate on, ourselves. The second, the most immediate circle, is definitely your classroom. And some of you already said your students. You influence your students, your classes, your opinions, your jokes. Students will imitate your pronunciation. Students will like the things you recommend, or they won't. And that's okay. They don't have to be like you. You're not training mini-me's. Sari from Colombia, hello. Hello, Colibri Alegre. Hello, everybody. We're talking about circles of influence, and we're talking about these imaginary circles that grow as we grow in experience. So what do you think the next circle is? After you and your students, what comes next? Jorge says colleagues, and they're helping me put up the banners there on the screen. Yes, colleagues. Peers, says Flor. Well, yes, and it just makes sense, right? You spend what, 7, 8 hours a day with your colleagues. You work in the same institution, so it's you and your school. How do we get to influence the school? Well, when we share our opinion in a meeting, when we volunteer to do a social event, when we help students do non-academic events like Dia de Muertos or pastorelas, or, well, it depends, I know, on the beliefs of your school. But so yes, definitely colleagues would be the next circle. You come out of a class and you share what's happening with your students. And so the teacher that gets them next, if you say, you know what, today was a horrible class, we might not say it like that, but sometimes it is like that. What happens sometimes is the next teacher is like, okay, so thank you for the heads up. Thank you for telling me that they're not very active today. So I'm going to change my plan and I'm going to start with an activity. So those little changes, you are already making a difference. You're already helping a colleague teach a better class. And it's not only teachers that you help, but it can be coordinators. It can be administrative staff. If you know how to use Excel and you help the, I don't know, the lady in control escolar with a file, you are making a difference and you're helping the others. And that is professional development as well. That is helping you grow, and that is helping you expand your horizons and do different things. We've already talked about ourselves. Very first circle. Yes. Where are you when in terms of yourself as a teacher, as a professional? Then you influence your students because that's where you are most in contact with, or who you're most in contact with. And then you and your school. So what is the next one? What's the next circle? Jorge is quoting Duncan Ford. Yes, that's precisely what I based this on, Jorge. It is an idea that was written by him, and it's your ELT profession. Would everybody agree? You and your profession. Go outside your institution. Present at talks like this, get invited, look for opportunities to be invited, submit a talk. But that's only one of the stages, because you can also write materials like Talia says. You could become a publisher. You could become teacher trainer. You could become an examiner. In the rest of the talks today and the talks the next 2 Saturdays, they will explore those roles and those responsibilities and those opportunities, career opportunities, more in detail. I'm just going to mention them vaguely. But yes, it's the society. Yes, of course, Evelyn, our impact as a teacher has an impact on society afterwards. So definitely. And Adriana also agrees that society. Yes. So professionally speaking, these are the 4 circles of influence that, like Jorge said, Duncan Ford, recommends or agrees. I first came in touch or in contact with this idea by this teacher, Nicola Meldrum, in IATEFL 3 years ago. After sharing this with Vladimir, he was actually the one who said, I read that in a book, and he was the one who found the name of the book for me, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much. So this is based on the book, The Developing Teacher, by Duncan Ford. It's right there. If you want to get the name, I'll leave it up on the screen for a little while, or maybe if they can help me put it up as a reference, The Developing Teacher. There, I put it in our chat. Yiro, Vlad, if you want to copy it from there, that would be great. I'm going to make a little pause to let you assimilate this concept. It might be new, it might not be new for us. MEXTESOL is sharing the registration link. So if you want to go ahead and click on the link and register, this would be a good moment. Good morning, Catherine. I'm going to go back over the comments. Mari Carmen Cervantes is asking a guide. Is there a guide? I suppose you're asking if there's a guide. This would be the guide, Mari Carmen. If you read this book, you can get a lot more onto this. The book is actually kind of a workbook. It has activities you can do for each of the circles. If you want to reflect on your role in the circles, your experience in each of the circles. If you want to improve, if you want to grow, if you want to expand in each of the circles, the book has activities, and I highly recommend it. They're asking about registration. This is a good moment to register, like I said. I'd like to remind you that we have a Padlet activity going on. If you can go to Padlet, if MEXTESOL can help me with the Padlet again, and tell us where you're from, where you're in, actually, where you're attending. That is the Padlet. Thank you. If you can go to this link, and you can tell us where you're from before we move on to the next activity. The Padlet is looking like this. Great. We have a lot of people from Mexico City. We had people from Colombia, I think they said, Sari, I think it was. We have this Padlet, Sari, you can tell us where you're at. Somebody from Ecuador, I think they said, or maybe I misread. And this is nice. We have people from Tampico. We have somebody in Zacatecas, I suppose, or they might have, yeah, Mexico in general. That's good. Guanajuato, Celaya, a lot of people in Mexico City. Nice. Okay. The second part of my talk, what we're going to do next, we're going to reflect on these circles of influence. We're going to see where we stand. We're going to see how you feel. We're going to see how they, if you think you're ready to move out into the next circle and how you can do that. I would like you to go to Paul Everywhere, the other link we shared in the presentation. And I am going to share, this is the other link. It's Paul. Oh, the pool is full. Why is it full? Ah, that's sad. But okay, I did not look into that numbers of people that can participate. Okay, so we have some people that have been teachers for less than 3 years, some people that have been teachers for 3 to 5 years, 5 to 10. Most people are here between these two. And we do have some fellow colleagues that have been teachers for 24 years. No, sorry, more than 15 years. 20% of the people. That's good. That's great. It means you're ready to move on, I guess, I suppose. I would like to believe you're here to explore possibilities. Okay, I'm going to share the next activity. In the next activity, you guys need to mark the circle in which you feel the most comfortable at right now. Where do you think, which one is your zone? Where do you think you're at this point most comfortable in? You need to go in, you need to click on that part of the circles, and you can say, it's me. And we will have your pin right there. Or maybe it's here. Or maybe it's here. So help us there. Great. So we have people feeling very comfortable about themselves. We have people feeling comfortable about them and their classroom. This is where they feel they are at right now. We already have people up here. Great, excellent. Nobody's comfortable with their colleagues. Nobody's comfortable with their schools. Is it time to make a change? Are you in the wrong place? Not necessarily, because the question is where you feel most comfortable in, not that you feel uncomfortable with, which is, by the way, the next question. I'm going to give you 30 more seconds because of the little delay we have. Great. We can only do one poll at a time, so I need to deactivate this one to go to the next one. Actually, it does it automatically. So the next one says, which circle do you feel least comfortable in? And let's activate. Oh, is it? It was activated. There. I think it's, yes, it's active. Go ahead, guys. Least comfortable. Where do you think I don't think I'm ready to do this, or I don't think I'm ready to get involved here. I don't think I'm ready to. Uh-huh. And I have a couple of reflection questions here for you guys. Why? Why is it that you feel least comfortable in there? Are your colleagues not validating your opinions? Do they not take into account your participation in meetings? Is your school not taking you into account? Do you feel undervalued? Do you think you can give more? Those reflecting on thinking about why we feel this way is one of the first steps to move out, to do something, to change. Here's a link, by the way. If somebody's just joining us, they've also shared the link in the chats in Facebook and YouTube. You're deleting your answers. Don't delete your answers. Are you reconsidering? Yes, you're reconsidering. I see some pins appearing and disappearing. Okay. What about the next one? Here we go. Which circle is your institute helping you with? Sorry, if any, is your institution helping you? What is the institution helping you with? Do they want you to develop your teaching skills, your classroom management skills? Are they giving the school workshops on better communication? Are they doing teamwork? Is your school helping you do things other than teaching and helping you with coordinating responsibilities, or with coordination responsibilities? Are they giving you the task to be an observer? Is your institute pushing for you to publish something? Are they helping you? Are they giving you training to become a trainer? Are they asking you to do something outside your institution, offer courses to the public? Where is your institution helping you? And I did write this, if any, because not all institutions help. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. The next question for reflection is, which circle would you like to get more involved in? Which circle do you think you are neglecting? Which circle do you think you have potential to explore, grow in, and develop? Interesting. This is really borderline. It's maybe both, you and your school and you and your profession. Teacher training, says Virginia. It refers to when the principal schools. Schools can support you. Yes, definitely, Jorge. I thought that's what you were trying to say. That in the Facebook chat, Jorge says schools can support you by giving you freedom to act as academically informed as possible. Yes, Ariadna in YouTube says it refers to when the principal or the school is asking for many administration tasks. I'm not sure if there was a question that I missed. So which of the areas? Okay. And I have one last question. So this is what you would like to get more involved in. So the next question is, where do you feel very comfortable? Where do you feel you can help others? Which of the circles do you think you have enough experience? Where do you think you have the knowledge to help others? And here are the questions I would like you to explore. I don't have an answer. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the talk, it's not the same path we all follow. And what worked for me won't work for you. But then the question I'd like you to consider, think, analyze, reflect on is how? How do you think you can help others? Do you feel comfortable giving a workshop? Do you feel comfortable having a discussion group? Do you think it would be better for you to write an article, to publish a book, to publish your research results? Do you think you're ready to become a coordinator? Do you think you can get a job in the government, in the Secretaría de Educación, and make a difference there? Do you think, and this is a very personal path, not everybody, I love to talk in front of people. I love to give workshops. I love to interact with people. I love it so much that even though this is not an interactive site, I'm asking you to write comments and I'm reading them and I'm saying hello to people. So I love this part. Not everybody loves this part. Some people feel more confident, more comfortable writing. They're all valid. I'm not diminishing anybody. But this is great. I think it's great that you think you're ready to help others, because this is what you can explore. Professional development in the terms of publishing, becoming a teacher trainer, giving workshops, presenting at a convention. This is the first thing you need to decide on. This is, what are you going to talk about? What are you going to share with the others? Are you going to share teaching techniques? Are you going to share classroom management techniques because you're good at them? Now with this lockdown, are you going to share tips on how to use technology better? I told you at the beginning, I'm using 2 monitors, and I highly recommend it if you're doing Zoom, Google Meet, StreamYard, any of these live sessions. If you have 2 monitors, your classes are super practical because you can see one thing on one screen and focus on your camera and look at the chat and interact with your students while you have your presentation on the side. I have it on this side. So well, very good. I'm going to close this poll. I'm going to go back to my presentation, which is here. Let me see. Are there any more? Are there any more pins in our Padlet? No, but that's okay. That's good. We have some. I know it's difficult. Not everybody has a double screen. If some of you are watching on your phone, that makes it difficult, but great. Okay, and going back to my presentation. Okay, so these are the circles of influence. This is what Duncan Ford suggested as a model for self-reflection and for improving. Check where you are with your students, check where you are with your institution. I think I'm missing one here. Check where you are with your colleagues is the one I'm missing here, and check where you are with your profession. I said at the beginning, you influence people because your opinions, your decisions, your actions, your responsibilities, everything you do has an impact on them. I've been asking these questions when we were doing these interactive polls. So, well, I hope you found this concept of circles of influence as inspiring as I found it, as a starting point for your professional development. I thank you all for being here today. I hope you enjoy the rest of the talks. I'm open for questions and comments. I can read your comments. As I said, I am not in either of the platforms, but the one we're using lets me see your comments. So if you write questions in the chat, I think I still have 5 minutes before the next talk. Great. Virginia says she's ready to work in the government department to program activities as a Chrome good book to help. Okay. I think her comments got mixed up there, but yes, it's great, Virginia. Josean, yeah, highly recommend a double monitor. It works. You need to try it out first. You need to do your run-throughs before you broadcast live. Jorge, thank you. Arturo, thank you. Thank you very much, Lucy. Thanks, Flor. Thank you, Mari Carmen. Here's my contact information. If anybody wants to write, if anybody wants to get the name of the book, if you didn't catch it, I'll share it with you. Are you in the Facebook FIX group? Yes, I am. I am a formador de inglés C. I am a FIC, Jorge. I should be there. I think we've crossed paths. I'm not very active there, but yeah. You're welcome, Moni Munoz. You're welcome, Betty. You're welcome, everybody. Alejandro. Thanks for being here. MGLS, is that short for like Magalis? You're welcome. Oh, thanks, Moises. Thank you, Ophelia. Thank you, Straya. You're welcome.
Well, thank you everyone for your participation and your comments, and thank you, Arturo, for your talk. I don't know if there's any more questions from anybody that they want to ask Arturo before we have to disconnect. I don't know if we see anything in the chat there.
Don't see questions. Yeah. I think we're good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I had a question, actually, Arturo.
Yes,
I don't know if
go ahead.
If you let me ask you. Well, you were talking a lot about your influence and stuff, and I was wondering if you had any examples of how, when you've seen your influence materialize in a person or in an institution or your students, how have you seen that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is a good question. See, in the institute where I worked before, they pushed me to talk at a convention, at an international convention. I had never presented. That was like 7-8 years ago. And we did teamwork to present at a TESOL, and our proposal was accepted. And I was freaking out, and it was a teamwork. It was 4 of us presenting in Dallas, Texas. When I changed jobs and I came to this normal that I'm working at, I asked my fellow teachers if they were going to send any any talks, any material for MEXTESOL, and they said they had never done it. So thinking back of what my boss had helped me with and how he had helped me, I organized teams and I organized my fellow teachers, my fellow English teachers in this new institute 3 years ago when I took this job up. And out of 7 talks, 5 were accepted, and
Okay.
five of my colleagues got to experience the presenting at a national convention. 3 loved it, and they've continued to submit. One of them is actually here. Monica Carreon was in the chats on Facebook. And so that is an example. They did it. They helped me. So I replicated this, and that is one example that materialized, like you said. And that's something you could try out. If you've presented, help others present, for example.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I like that. Like being very proactive in that sense, no?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And I had just one other question as well that I had from here. I know, well, for example, in my own personal experience, and I'm sure many other teachers have had this as well, is that sometimes our influence with our colleagues is like where maybe that's a little bit harder because maybe they have different goals or different ways of doing things, no? Have you ever had that with a colleague, and how have you resolved it if you had?
Yeah, well, as many of you might know, formadores de inglés in escuelas normales were not nicely welcomed. So we did have this rejection from other teachers, not English teachers. And in my personal case, because I don't have a master's degree and I don't have a PhD either, that was one of the things they were trying to use against me. It's like, but you didn't even have a master's degree. You don't even have a master's degree. And they wanted to kind of block me and my fellow English teachers. You overcome that by talking to people. I faced one of the teachers who said, but he challenged me directly, and he said, I've been at the school for 25 years and you come and you get this position and you get these benefits, and I've been fighting for those benefits. And I said, look, I understand how you feel, and I know you've been fighting inside the school. I've been fighting, if you want to call it that, outside the school. I've been preparing outside the school. I have been teaching for 20 years, but it's just that now they recognized it here. So we've gone through similar things. So his reaction was beautiful. He opened up his eyes, like, I hadn't thought about it. And little by little, by fighting back, that's probably the word, being a little obstinate and saying, no, but this is my opinion, and look, let's try it. Give me a chance to try this. I know it works. That can help you a lot. And then show the results. And if you have a extreme case like that, maybe even brag about the results and say, I told you it was going to work.
Yeah. No, that's good. I like that. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Well, I don't know if there's any more questions in the chat before we have to go, because I think we've only got like 2 more minutes.
Yeah, no, I don't see more questions. I see more thank yous. Thank you all for participating. Thank you all for the interactive talk. Thank you, MEXTESOL Chapter Mexico City, and I'll be around.
Yeah. Well, just before you go, I'd like to thank you again for your talk. Very informative, and like I said, very with the influence and stuff like that. And here, just your diploma, which we'll send to you digitally, so you can have that as well. And again, thank you for the talk. And I give you a round of applause, but I guess we wouldn't hear it there. Maybe we could put the emojis or something. That would be cool.
Thank you very much.
But thank you again. So, well, we're going to have a 2-minute break before the next session, guys. So if you guys want to go get some coffee, go to the bathroom or something before we start again, okay? Thank you, and we'll see you in the next session.
Hello, everyone. How are you? Hello, Sarah. How are you?
Hello, how are you over there in Mexico?
Yes, great to see you. And welcome to MEXTESOL. This is Arturo. I'm the vice president of this chapter. So it's always great to have great speakers like you and sharing with all of us your ideas and everything you can help us with. So, guys,
pleasure to be here. Thank you, Arturo.
You're welcome. So, guys, let me introduce Sarah Hillier. She holds an MA from the University of York. She's a consultant for bilingual schools and a tutor for Nile Online. She's a co-author and series consultant for Pearson's new primary course, Little Stars. And she used to be an actress with a performance and sings in a band. Wow, that's great, Sarah. Some ideas of her next session. The topic of the session is STEAM and future skills to be applied for pre-primary, basically in EFL and ESL context. She will describe the importance of young children to be encouraged to develop these skills and certain skills which can be very helpful for their future. And basically, the idea is to get to those pre-primary teachers, coordinators, heads, and everyone who can be involved with these years, okay? So welcome, Sarah. It's a great pleasure to have you here. And it's all yours now, okay? Take care.
Thank you very much, Arturo. That was a lovely presentation. I loved that. Yes, I used to be an actress with the performers, which was a nice experience. And by the way, I'm very happy to be here. And I was in Mexico last year with in Querétaro.
That's right. We saw you there.
Yeah, so I'm very happy to be back in Mexico, even if it's if it's a virtual visit, but it's lovely to be back here. Yeah. So thank you very much, Arturo. What we're going to be doing today then is looking at the topic of STEAM, and I'm really glad to be talking about this. I love this subject, and I'm happy there's so many teachers who seem to show they're very interested in STEAM with young children. So the mission of this webinar is to share ways in which pre-primary teachers can get children future ready using STEAM. So actually, STEAM naturally does this because the skills and the transferabilities that children develop while engaging in STEAM activities are paramount already. So now, what's STEAM? For those of you who perhaps are not very familiar with the term, STEAM, very briefly, is an acronym that stands for science, technology, engineering, the arts, and maths. Okay, so you've got those 5 disciplines. We're, of course, looking at language teaching using STEAM. So there's quite a lot involved. So let's begin with what happens with our future skills. Let's have a look at this. Before we do anything else, I'm going to ask you a simple question. It's a really simple question that you can answer to in your chat box. Those of you who are teaching in pre-primary, or those of you who have got children of your own who are of the age 1 to 5 years old, do your children play with blocks, with building blocks? Do they stack up blocks? Do they build castles with wooden or plastic blocks? Do children play with building blocks? Could you write that in the chat? Okay. Yes, good. Okay. Either during your lessons or free play in their own time. If you can just write yes or no in the chat box, just a simple question. Do children play with building blocks? Okay, and I imagine that while they're doing that, you can see that they're having fun, correct? Children do play with building blocks and have fun while they do it. And the second question is, did you know that building with blocks teaches children important skills that can actually make a huge impact on the rest of their lives and in the future of our society. I don't know if I would go that far, would you? But perhaps it sounds a bit far-fetched. But maybe not. I think we'll have to analyze that. There are certain things that we can't teach children for their future. Like the facts, for example, that they will need to know, or the specific skills of the trade for whatever they decide to become, because there will be new jobs, new technologies, new roles, but we can teach them how to figure new things out for themselves, because that will be useful whatever they do and whatever the future brings. When children are engaged in block play, they are curious about how it will work best, and they give it a try. They learn that if they try something and it doesn't work, then they try again. You persevere in life. They learn how to take risks. That feeling of placing one more block on your tower and hoping it will please not be the block that will make it unstable and fall. You're taking a big risk there. And then if the blocks do keep falling, then you need to accept that you need to learn from failure. After a few attempts, we discover that it was either one block too many, or perhaps putting the big blocks on the bottom will make it more stable. That's the concept of stability. We're embracing failure as part of the learning process, and that's important for students to take risks and make mistakes to learn. Failing is also an opportunity to think about how to reevaluate, to redesign, to rethink a problem and do better with our next tower. So we take for granted a simple activity like stacking blocks, which in STEAM is engineering. It's building, stability. But it's through these types of experiences that children learn how to problem solve, how to persevere, how to acquire new skills that they will surely need for an unknown future. And so in this example, we see that the focus is on how. You see all those hows, learning how to do things, learning how to think about things. Not so much the what, the facts, because we don't know what the future will bring, but we can guess how we will probably need to perform. So all these skills are skills that become skills for life. It's lifelong learning. We're always learning how to figure things out for ourselves when we're faced with new situations. We keep on learning how to persevere in different contexts, how to come up with new solutions to new challenges we face. We're going to be in that all our life. And STEAM intends to attract children with a new challenge, a new problem, just like life does, for which they will need certain skills. So it's a way of offering opportunities to play with the skills and to rehearse them before going into real life and having challenges and problems to solve, to give them lots of practice. And when they're very young, they start becoming capable of managing new and difficult and challenging situations that they will encounter later in real life in other sorts of situations. But these skills are the same skills that they will need to be successful. So this is, of course, early STEAM. We're not talking about teaching quantum physics as part of that science in the STEAM acronym, or programming as part of the T in technology in STEAM. It could be, but not necessarily, so don't stress. Early STEAM. STEAM is an integrated approach to learning. It's integrating these subjects that celebrates creative thinking, experimenting, and problem solving. Think of it like that, more than from the point of view of the science that you need to teach or the technology that you need to use, because you might not have it, or you might not have the knowledge of the concepts of those scientific ideas. You're not a scientist, you're not a technology developer, you're not an engineer, you're a language teacher, so you shouldn't have to know about all that science. So don't stress. In early STEAM, we're looking at very basic concepts that I'm sure that you're all very familiar with. It says nothing about teaching quantum physics in the definition or about programming. So if you're not comfortable with that, you can move away from that and you can still be doing STEAM. This type of approach is important because research tells us that children's early experiences build brain structure and lay foundations of for one's lifelong thinking and approach to learning. That's why it's important to start early. Learning anything, not only language in the classroom, learning anything in life, that starts early. And we're building the foundations for that really early. So STEAM challenges are about encountering new information and new challenges so that in a way it resembles, in a playful way, new challenges that an individual may face. So those life skills are at the core of STEAM. So I'm going to show you a little example. And here, this is an example for what we could do in pre-primary with STEAM. So we're looking at, again, block play. I'm going back to our block play. But this is block play with an aim because we're planning to use it in a language classroom. It involves STEAM. And it involves the life skills STEAM naturally embeds in its challenges and language learning as well. So this STEAM challenge is, can you build a tall building? Perhaps you can see at the bottom, you've got the STEAM challenge there. Can you build a tall building? We always start with a question or with a problem to answer. That's how we start with STEAM. So in this STEAM challenge, learners are going to explore structures and stability by building places designed to be connected with a unit of work about neighborhood or the city. Okay. So this is planned for 4-year-old learners. So they're very, very young. We're introducing first the concept of tall because they have to build a tall building. What's the language that perhaps our 4-year-olds won't know? Well, along the unit, we will have worked on different types of buildings like museums, school, bookstore, okay, cinema. So they will know about buildings. But perhaps the new word here will be tall. So first of all, we're going to introduce the word tall using our bodies. So we have students stand up and become tall museums. Everyone become a tall museum. And so we all stand up. And then we ask them to be a low museum. So we go tall museum, low museum, tall museum, low museum. We get them to experience the word through their body. The A in STEAM is not only about drawing or painting, it's the arts. It's the general concept, the overall term for the arts. So that involves drama as well, movement and using the body. So that's part of it too. So we're going to have them using their body to understand the concept tall and low. Okay, great. You're all really nice tall museums now, or low museums. And now, if you look at the bottom of the page, you'll see you've got the STEAM challenge in the form of a question as a problem to solve and the language focus. Because we're still teaching English when we're using STEAM. We don't just want them playing. Remember that. STEAM isn't just a moment for them to relax and for you to relax and they just go and play with blocks. No, we're still teaching language while they're doing it, okay? So we've seen how important block play is anyway. So playing with blocks is already important and we're adding the language there as well because we're language teachers. So we've been working with this language throughout the unit, so it's nothing new. They know that language and now they're going to be applying it and integrating it into a STEAM activity. So we're going to go and research some tall buildings. So perhaps we'll look at the tallest museum in the world that's in Italy. Or perhaps we'll look at the tallest cinema in the UK. Or maybe we'll look at the tallest building in the world in Dubai. We could look at other skyscrapers if we wanted to. There's a tall restaurant on the 122nd floor of that building. Imagine this, the view from there. That must be incredible. You could, of course, add the Shanghai Tower or the One World Trade Center in New York, but we're looking for buildings that our young learners can identify with. We've taught them cinema, restaurant, museum, so we're looking for tall cinemas, tall restaurants, or tall museums. So if possible, show your learners a world map or a globe to begin building awareness of the existence of different countries, where we are in the world, how far or near we are from other places in the world. That's always important to start doing when children are very young. So we're going to start predicting about structures. what we're going to do is first, all together in class, we're going to start building a tall museum using only the things that I'm providing. So we're going to work on materials quite a lot, because part of the engineering process is understanding about materials. Also, scientists understand how materials work. So it's important to think about your materials very well when you're doing STEAM. So, for example, I will only provide toilet paper tubes and paper plates. And this is the only material that we're going to use to build our tall museum, for example. Or I could provide only plastic cups and pieces of cardboard to put in between. Or I could provide only boxes, and we can build our tall buildings with boxes. So either one type of material or another, not just a whole load of different mixes of materials and they just mix it all together, but try and get them to think about how that material works. If we're going to be using toilet paper tubes, and that's all we have, it's quite difficult to keep toilet paper tubes one on top of the other. So we'll have to find a solution to that, and one solution could be putting paper plates in between or cardboard pieces in between. Or we need to make slits in the toilet paper roll so that you can embed one toilet paper roll into the other, because just having toilet paper roll on top of toilet paper roll, it will fall over. You have 2 or 3 and it will fall over. So limit the building material so that we can explore that type of building material and how that works. So as each child comes to the front and adds one item, we're going to count how many there are. We're going to have them repeat with us. 1, good, 2, 3, wow, it's a tall museum. And in between each one of those, you're going to ask them, will it fall down? So they start predicting. Predicting is something that scientists do. You see how we're embedding the skills that scientists use, that engineers use, but we're not making it very complex. We're just using the scientific method, which is predict. You put 1, will it fall down? Yes or no? No. Okay, let's try another one. Will it fall down now? No. Okay, let's try another one. Will it fall down now? Yes. Some of you think yes, some of you think no. Okay, let's see what happens. We predict and we look at our results, and then we compare our results to our predictions. That's part of the scientific method. So we might display photographs of buildings around the classroom. And it's quite interesting to use real photographs that your learners will identify with. For example, the restaurant on the corner of the classroom, the school, or at the school building itself. So real photographs of their own school or the restaurant that's on the corner. Or if there's a cinema nearby, you can have a photograph of that so that they can relate to those photographs. And you will have them in groups and ask them to choose one of those buildings to build. So they can choose whichever they want. And what you could also do is have different workstations, perhaps 3 or 4 workstations. Workstations are just tables set up with different materials. So you might have 3 or 4 workstations. One has the toilet paper rolls with the plates. Another one has cups and paper cups and cardboard. The other one has boxes. The other one has Tupperware or building blocks, wooden building blocks. So you could have paper builders hats, if you like. You know, little children love wearing hats and costumes, so they could have their builders hats if you wanted them to, and that's quite nice because they become that engineer, that they become that architect. So it's quite nice. And set a time limit and have them work in their workstations, counting 1, 2, 3. So that's all the language they have to use at that moment. Okay, so you walk around and you monitor, and you're going to start asking the groups what they're building to elicit those words in English. What are you building? And they'll say a tall museum, because that's one of the pictures that you put around the room, so they'll be able to point at it, remember what it is, a tall museum or a tall bookstore or a tall cinema. So there's the language that you want them to use. So you want learners to document their work like scientists and engineers do. So always have them document it, either have them draw what they have built with that number of materials. So if they've used 3 cups and then it fell down, well, they draw 3 cups. Or they can snap photographs, so you can involve some technology in there. If you have tablets in the classroom, you can always teach them to take photographs, which is a great thing to learn to do. They need to learn how to hold the camera still, press the button, keep it steady, explain that they need to center the picture. Yeah. So it's a big thing to learn about as well, taking photographs and photography. So in this case, what we're doing here is we're using different, yes, Roger says he loves to use real photos. That's fantastic. That's wonderful. Yes, and Virginia was saying, I wasn't aware of so many advantages of learning with this activity. And yes, there is so much that you're learning with something very simple, isn't it? Which is building. And children, that's part of children's play already, isn't it? So the blocks teach to think and help concentrate. Yes, Talia, children concentrate a lot when they're using the blocks and they're really thinking about it. It is, yes. Good, so I'm happy you're liking this idea. Fantastic, good. So the skills, which are the thing that we're interested in this session today, are collaboration skills, because most of the time for STEAM, what we want is for learners to work in groups, okay? And collaboration is a big field, because when you're collaborating with others, you have to negotiate. You have to come to conclusions all together. You have to have empathy for others. You have to take turns. It's nothing simple to collaborate. So they're learning so many micro skills within that big skill of collaboration. There's creative thinking, because they have to use the material differently, depending on what material they're using. Boxes, they can lay one on top of the other, not toilet paper rolls or cups, perhaps. Or unless they put, I've got my cups here. This is ready for you. Unless they put their cups like this, one that way and one that way, but they'll have to figure that out, won't they, for themselves? Because if they put all the cups like this, then that won't make a very tall tower, will it? So they'll have to figure that out. It has to go one way and one way. So that's why it's important just to have one type of material or two, but limiting it on the different workstations so that they can think differently about each material they're using, okay? There's critical thinking. They're understanding the world. They're understanding those tall buildings that we researched about around the world. They're understanding that there can be such tall buildings, that tall. Wow, 122nd floor is a restaurant, imagine that. And they don't fall. How do we manage that? Such a tall building, it doesn't fall. Well, they're learning about the world. It can happen. And maybe they've only been able to use 3 cups, but there is a building that has at least 122nd floors on it. So, wow. So we're predicting, trying to decide when they think their building will fall or whether they can still put some more material on it. And they have to really think about that. There's problem solving and redesigning by using different materials to try again, because when they swap workstations, they have to rethink, okay, how am I going to make a new building out of this type of material, which is different to the other type of material? So it's engineering concepts, there's building, they're making their structures as high as they possibly can, and they're manipulating different types of material. There's risk-taking. They're dealing with failure. There's emotional development when they're dealing with failure. The buildings will fall down. That's the whole point of this experiment. And because you want to see how many you can get before it falls down. So it will fall down at some point. So there's emotional development there. They have to be okay with that idea. And there's maths concepts. Tall and low is a maths concept. And there's counting how many of those pieces of material they can put on it before it falls down. You would like to be giving that class right now, Virginia. Lovely. That's wonderful. So as soon as you can go and do it, Virginia. So see how much is actually involved in a very simple STEAM building challenge with 4-year-olds. That's it. But there's so much you're developing and so much you're doing, and it's so motivating and engaging as well. So now I'm going to get my crystal ball out, and I'm going to look deep into the future and see what it brings. So my crystal ball tells me that many of the things that a typical student learns in school today will no longer be very relevant. Not something very relevant to learn, at least. Traditionally, knowledge about the world meant learning facts. We learn things, like when Columbus discovered America, or how much 6 times 3 is, and you had a test to find out if you knew those facts or not. But now the need for children to learn facts is diminishing. Facts are just a Google click away. We can find out information very quickly, we've got Google, we've got Siri, we can just go and ask Alexa. They know the stuff. We need to know what to do with that stuff. How we do things with that information. We need to make sense of the information, tell the difference between what is important, what is not important. And STEAM, being hands-on and experiential learning, means that learners don't learn facts off a piece of paper. If they learn a concept, it's because they've been playing around with the idea and discovering it for themselves, maybe with a little bit of help, of course, but paramount are those skills that they're learning while playing with those concepts. My crystal ball, so true, fantastic. Someone agrees. I hope you all do. My crystal ball also tells me that people will have to solve problems that we don't presently have. So the challenges that our learners will face in the future will be very different from those that we face today. They will need skills that they will be able to transfer to different situations. So we need to allow them to keep on learning and to adapt. So that's another reason why we want to focus on the how, not so much on the what. So we focus more on the skills than on the fact. Fortunately, in early childhood education, we already include this quite a lot. We already have a very strong focus on soft skills most of the time. In early childhood education or in pre-primary, there is a stronger focus on whole child development usually than in the rest of the school, because at this stage in life, children necessarily need to learn how to share with others, to become independent, how to take their jackets off, how to tie their shoelaces. You know, you've got all those extras, not just teach them language, but you've got all those extras that they need to be able to do so that they can actually sit down and learn English, because otherwise they can't just run around with their shoelaces undone. They have to tie their shoelaces before they can sit down and learn English. So when we're teaching language, we shouldn't forget that actually we're teaching so many other things as well. I felt very identified when I heard Claire Venables saying that in one of her webinars that we don't teach language, we teach people. And that is so true. We don't teach language, we teach people. People are not made up of language alone. People are made up of so much more than that. So there's a shift towards teaching language in a holistic way, because people are not made up of only language. Anyway, there will be new words. Zoom is a new word that we can all use now that we didn't use before. It can replace Z for zebra. It's now become Z for Zoom. My 3-year-old even uses the word Zoom. Or instead of I for igloo, it's now I for iPad. And language will keep on transforming itself. And there might be words that replace these and newer still. The alphabet, will be A for apple, B for banana. And when you get to Z, it will be Z for Zoom. So that's how language transforms, doesn't it? I don't need my crystal ball for this one. Technology will not be the technology that we use today. It's a fast-changing world and emerging technologies evolve. Technology that we know today is replaced very quickly by new ones, sometimes unimaginable ones, and that's why people need to be adaptable. Another thing that my crystal ball is showing is that people will have to apply for jobs that don't exist today. And that's the employability factor. In fact, some say that 20 years from now, the majority of job openings is going to be in STEAM fields, in science, in technology, in engineering, in maths, and arts. And that is when our pre-primaries will be searching for jobs probably in about 20 years' time, and most openings will be in STEAM fields. That's what is being said by research. Anyway, every employer, whatever job it is, prefers workers who know how to work with others, how to problem solve, how to communicate, how to be creative. Doesn't matter what you're doing. So I've got this quote here. This is something that Deborah McLaren said, who is the head of an elementary school in the United States. She says that children come to us as creative, curious beings, eager to interact with the environment. Asking them to sit quietly and memorize answers is not consistent with everything we know about how children learn. nor are those practical skills for the real world. How many jobs ask workers to just sit and listen and memorize? We must employ strategies that prepare kids for their future. Do you know any 21st century jobs that require us to just simply listen and memorize? Take STEAM areas and think about future type jobs that already exist. Think about programming jobs, building online platforms, web developers, virtual reality designers. The concept of a community manager didn't exist years ago, and now it's really popular. The field of robotics is entirely different. For none of these will children benefit by sitting and memorizing. But these are going to evolve, and others are going to be invented too. So now I've got a question for you. What do innovators and children have in common? So now this is on to you. Please use the chat box and please write any ideas that come to mind. Okay, don't be afraid. There's no right or wrong answers. It's what you think. And then I'm going to tell you what I think, but it's just what I think. It's not the scientific truth. We're exploring this idea. In the same way that we expect our children at school to explore an idea and give their own predictions, reasoning, unique product, that's what STEAM is all about. Become innovative, okay? And we need to think of different answers. That's part of STEAM. So what do innovators and children have in common? Okay. Okay, both are in evolution. That's lovely, Emily. They let their imagination run free. Absolutely. They're both creative. Yes, yes, those are lovely ideas. Yes, I'm sure there are much more that should be coming in because there are lots of things that innovators and children have in common. I'm sure you can think of more. They're not afraid of new stuff. Yes, fantastic. Innovators are not afraid of new stuff. Children are not afraid of new stuff. That's lovely. So for me, okay, yes, then we could summarize these character traits into MacGyver. MacGyver is what innovators and children have in common for me. Do you think MacGyver has innovation skills? Probably yes. Although an innovation skill set may sound like a modern trend, it isn't. Tasks that this character carries out are very innovative, but you know, he's a problem solver. He has creativity traits, social skills that would make him very successful in the future. We're getting more, great. They perceive in different ways life facts. Yes, they perceive life facts in very different ways. Of course, imagination is a big thing. Creativity and curiosity. Yes, absolutely. So these are my ideas. I believe that, I mean, what you said is not right or wrong. What I'm saying is not right or wrong. These are just my ideas, just something to think about. Children are curious and creative by nature. They like finding things out. They use their inbuilt inquiry skills. And in the future, they will need to come up with new ideas, not just be told what to do. Children love solving problems. If you give them a problem, they will probably naturally want to find a solution because there is something meaningful. There is a reason to do so. They're critical thinkers. They can come up with new solutions to things. They're collaborators despite differences. They collaborate with each other, no matter how different one is from another. We're talking about young children, of course. They're quite comfortable talking and communicating with others as well, like playing or working together. They haven't developed a strong sense of self-awareness yet, like teenagers. They're usually quite good group players. And because of this sense of belonging, of little self-consciousness, they're fine taking risks. So that is how they learn every day. They're always doing new things because they're only 3, 4, or 5 years old. They're always learning something new. They're always doing something new. They're taking risks all the time with new things. There is a lot in the world that they haven't mastered yet, and they're just trying it out. So here I would add all those other lovely things that you're saying. They explore and don't hesitate. Curiosity, they love to do new things. No limits, lovely. Creativity and imagination, they're not afraid to fail. They try, no fear. Of course, that's fantastic ideas. So these character traits are what employers are looking for. So they have it. They have it in them already. And all we need to do is make the most of these natural innovation qualities that they have and build on from there. Don't let them lose them. We should preserve those skill sets that children display and allow them to practice them. Foster and encourage this inbuilt set mentality, because they will have what employers are looking for and they will have what will make them successful in life. You learn to innovate by innovating. You learn by doing it, as well as those other skills that are in this big umbrella term of innovation skills. You learn to be creative by being creative. Good. So I'm going to take that last point there, being risk takers, and because I think that if you're a risk taker, you need to learn to live with a little bit of failure. You know, we don't like it, but we learn to live with failure if it does happen. So if you're going to take a risk and you know it's a risk, well, it might come out right or it might come out wrong. So you're dealing with trial and error. And failing is part of being a good innovator. And one of the points of doing STEAM is that we help our learners unlock their uniqueness and their superpowers. Here we have Superman. So talking about superpowers, let's look at my second example from Little. This example comes from Little Stars, which is Pearson's new course book for pre-primary. And it reminds me a lot of MacGyver type thinking. In this STEAM challenge, learners are going to experiment with the science behind tools that help an object move without touching it. How does something move without actually touching that object? So to cater for the interest of young learners, we're going to make a superhero fly, superhero toy, of course. We're going to make the toy fly without touching the toy. So they will need to create a flight system, just to sound fancy. I probably won't say you have to create a flight system to a 4-year-old, but I will explain it in different ways so that they understand flight system. So we're going to revise language first, and here we've got actions. We're going to be working with actions in this unit. So we're going to get a Superman toy, and we're going to say, I'm Superman, I'm a superhero, I can swim, run and fly. So you're going to say to everyone, I can stand up, and everyone is going to say, I can stand up, and all the children are going to stand up with you and Superman and going to follow your commands and repeat after you. I can stand up, so they all stand up. I can run, so we all do the actions for running. I can swim, so they all say, I can swim, and they all swim. I can fly, and they all pretend to fly. So we're doing actions here, and we're revising that language, and then we say, I can sit down, and we all sit down. And this is really good for your classroom management, because if you need it, you can use your superhero whisper voice to say, I can be quiet, I'm Superman. So we can all repeat, I can be quiet. So children will bring a superhero toy to class. These can be plastic action figures, superhero soft toys, Lego superheroes, those little ones. Ask children to show their superhero toy, introduce themselves saying, I'm Spider-Woman, I can jump. So we all jump. So we're using the names of the superheroes so that they can present them using I'm to present someone, and they can use the actions. So we're going to divide learners into groups, and we're going to give them different materials. So we're going to allow time for children to experiment creatively, trying different strategies. So have a look at the materials we've got on the screen. We've got pieces of string. What could we do with a piece of string? Okay, we've got to make the superhero toy fly. I can't touch the toy. I can touch the string. I can't touch the toy. So how can I make it fly without touching it? Thin wooden planks of wood or cardboard pieces. How can I use that to make a superhero toy fly? Plastic spoons. A balloon. A box. Okay. So something important that we want our children to do afterwards that you can see on the screen, you've got a tick and a cross, is we want learners to start understanding that it's important to document things like they did with the towers, where they had to draw the 3 cups that they used, 4 or 5 cups that they used. So after children have experimented with the different materials, you're going to say, I can sit down on my chair in your Superman voice, and everyone is going to say, I can sit on my chair. And they're going to draw their superhero and their flight system and colour in the tick box if their superhero was able to fly, or the cross box if it wasn't able to fly. And they're going to present their flight systems to the rest by saying, I'm Spider-Gwen, I can fly, and showing how Spider-Gwen flies, what the flight system is. But I'm going to show you some examples, because you might be wondering, okay, so what could we be doing with these materials? All right, I'll give you some ideas. What have you been doing in quarantine? Well, at home, we as a family have been doing a lot of STEAM challenges. How exciting. So for the kids, it has been very exciting. Alex is 7 and Mila is 3. And so I got them to try this experiment for me. So I explained what they had to do, and I set out all the materials, and they chose the material they wanted to create their flight system. So of course, Alex being 7, the first thing he did was run into the house and get his Nerf gun. And he stuck little Spider-Man Lego to a Nerf bullet, put it in the Nerf gun and shot Spider-Man out of his gun, and he said, I'm Spider-Man, I can fly. Fantastic idea. I would, of course, not allow guns in school, but of course he's 7, and that's the first thing he came up with. That's his unique solution to that problem, and that was fantastic. He wasn't touching Spider-Man when it was flying. He wasn't throwing Spider-Man. That's the important thing. Mila came to me with the string. So what we did was we tied the string to Batman. Now the problem was that Batman kept turning and turning, and he turned so much that he was head down. So she thought that was quite funny, but it wasn't a very good flight system, was it? So he came to the conclusion that that wasn't the best, but that's good. We're taking a risk and we're accepting if we fail. Okay. The first time he was flying okay, second time he was already heads down. Then Alex decided that if he stuck Spider-Man to the gate, then that would look like he was flying frozen. That was his idea. Fantastic. You're being creative. They used the spoon as a catapult on the table. So they slammed on the end of the spoon, and out went the superhero flying. And the balloon, we blew up the balloon, we didn't tie it, and children know what happens if you blow up a balloon and you don't tie it and you let it go. What happens? It flies off. So they decided to stick the superhero to the balloon, and off went the superhero flying, and they weren't touching it with their fingers, which was the important thing. So I would like you to have a little think and tell me in the chat box, what skills were my children developing while they were engaged in this STEAM challenge? What were my children doing while they were engaging in this STEAM challenge? What skills? Think of those skills that we mentioned before. What skills were my children developing while engaging in this STEAM challenge, where they had to make a superhero fly without touching it? See what you come up with. Okay, fantastic. Problem solving. We've got critical thinking. Absolutely. They're doing a lot of that. Yes. What else are they doing? They're developing social skills. Absolutely. They're together and they're doing it. Okay. Nowadays, we've got the social distancing issue. We've got children at home rather than at school. So some of this, the main point of STEAM, that is being able to be together and collaborating and developing social skills, may be a little reduced when we're doing it eye distance or with social distancing, of course. Imagination to solve problems. Yes, Cecilia, that is correct. So there is a lot going on. I think one of the skills are critical thinking, social, interactive, and exploring. Absolutely, Marie. Yes, you're correct. So these are the ones that I've thought of. Strategic skills. That's a lovely one. Yes, I hadn't thought about that, but it's strategic skills. Fantastic. And solving problems, Danny. Yes. They're understanding limits, because there's a limit to this challenge. They're understanding rules, self-control, there's adaptability. You cannot touch the superhero with your hands when you make it fly. Children, the first thing they want to do is grab the superhero and go, woo, and make it fly. So there's adaptability to that rule. There's critical thinking and problem solving. They have to really think about this and solve this problem. There's decision making. There's choice and ownership. They're deciding what material they want to use, how they're going to use it. So there's choice and ownership, and they're deciding. If they were in a group, they would be deciding together. They're thinking creatively. There's collaboration if they're doing it in groups. There's risk taking. We don't know if it's going to work or not, but let's try it and let's see and let's find out. And there's communication, because at the end, we're going to ask them to present. We're going to ask them to present their superhero and say whether it flies or it doesn't fly. So emotional skills, they motivate with new activities. Yes, it's motivating for them. There's creativity, innovation, improving themselves, says Lucy. Lovely, absolutely. So these are according to the World Economic Forum report about the future of jobs. This is the list of the top 10 innovation skills needed in 2020. The trend is to talk about the so-called innovation skills for an innovation-driven future. So these are the skills that employers will be looking for. See that complex problem solving has stayed at the top, #1 in 2015 and in 2020. And a new report will come out to tell us what they think will happen in the future. There are a lot of reports about this. There are lots and lots of reports that tell us what the skills of the future will be. This one gets to 2020, which is this year, but there are a lot that goes even more to the future. But what's interesting is how from 2015, critical thinking and creativity have come up this year. So it's going to be even stronger probably in the future. So I had one more example for you. I'm just going to show you it quickly because I'm worried about time. But in this example, this is a lovely team building activity in which learners have to work together to create a tower made of cups. Now, the difficulty in this, there's a little challenge there, which is not just make the tower, but they have to use a special tool. In STEAM, the T for technology doesn't only refer to tablets, smartboards, Zoom, robots for robotics, programming, but also to any type of tool that helps you do something. A spoon is even a tool. A pen is even a tool. A pair of scissors is a tool. That's also technology. Think of prehistoric technology. Okay, it doesn't have to be all that new complex technology that we have now. Talia says they're applying physics even if they don't know exactly. Yeah, that's the idea, that they're actually playing with the concepts, but you don't have to be the teacher who actually knows how to explain those concepts. And that's important to know. You're an English teacher, but they're playing with that idea. So what we're going to have is a little tool that we're going to invent for this STEAM challenge, where we have an elastic band. There you go, an elastic band. And it's got some pieces of string attached to it. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, okay, there I am, big, so you can see me well. Good, fantastic. Okay, so what you're going to do with this looks sort of like a sun, doesn't it? Or an octopus, if you like, or something like that. So we could call it a sun or an octopus. And what we have to do with this is to stretch it open or release to make it bigger or smaller. You can't do this on your own. So I'm trying to show you how this would work, but I can't do it on my own. You have to do it with someone else. That's why it's a great team building activity. And what they're going to do is they can't touch the cups with their hands, but they can use this new tool. So this is what they're going to do. They're going to open up the strings by pulling each one of them. You need 4 students or 5 students, each one with one bit of string, and they have to pull from the strings to open up the elastic band, get it on the cup, put it onto the next cup, and so forth. So they have to do it together, and they have to learn how to release and let go when they need to together at the same time. Otherwise, it won't work for them. So what they're doing here is they're using collaboration and teamwork. This is a really good teamwork activity. They're self-control. If you want to pull the string and your friend is not pulling from the string, it won't work. You need to be doing it at the same time. There's creative thinking, because what we're not going to explain to them how to use it. What you do is you give it to them in their groups and you say, okay, what can you do with this? How can you make a tower using this new tool? So they'll have to think about what they have to do with this to move the cups around. There's communication, because they'll have to talk to each other about this, and there's problem solving. They'll have to solve that problem to find out how to do it. So there is a lot involved in there. So the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. They will need to be adaptable. They need to relearn. They need to be flexible. They need to have initiative, be innovative, come up with different ideas and solutions. Lifelong learning at the core. So if you want to learn more about the skills of the future, you can look into Pearson's research, which is fantastic. futureskills.pearson.com, which is amazing, and you'll find out a lot of information about the skills of the future there. If you want to learn more about STEAM, you can look into Pearson Experience's website or Pearson's blog, where you will find downloadable materials, a pocket guide to STEAM, blog articles, and the examples that I've given today have been taken from Pearson's new course, Little Stars, for which I am the author of the STEAM activities. So you can have a look at that book if you're teaching in pre-primary. So thank you all for your attention. I hope you will join the STEAM movement, where we acknowledge how important it is to prepare students for the future. While on the surface, it looks like children are just playing, stacking blocks, or just playing around with the concept, if you dig deeper, you will see that they're learning the necessary skills to help build their future. So again, thank you very much for joining us for the sponsorship of Pearson, MEXTESOL, Ciudad de Mexico. Lovely to be in Mexico again. And congratulations to all of you who are transforming your classrooms for the future. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, I think we have a few minutes.
Yes, thank you, Sarah. We do have a few minutes for the questions. Virginia Alvarez asked a while ago. Let me just find this comment.
Thank you, everyone. Nice comment there.
Virginia Alvarez asked some minutes ago, learning a language involves a lot of memorization, doesn't it? So how can we overcome this part of memorization and teaching a second language?
Okay, yes, of course. When we're doing STEAM, we're not forgetting about our ways of teaching English. We shouldn't forget that. It's not that we now suddenly don't teach like we used to do and just suddenly do STEAM every single day, every single lesson. So the idea is this is one thing that you can add to your lessons to engage children more, to motivate them, and to integrate that language that you have been teaching them in a different way for those children who perhaps want to learn differently, or for those children who really need to be motivated in a different way. So it doesn't mean you're going to stop doing your memorization and your repetition and your drilling, because although those words don't sound very nice, we still need them for language learning. They have to be there. So we're still going to be working on our units or our projects or our themes like we always do, but then maybe you'll involve a STEAM activity at the beginning, in the middle, at the end. So somewhere you will add this STEAM activity, but you will continue with your way of teaching, okay? You don't just stop doing everything like you're doing it to do STEAM. You just incorporate STEAM into your work as well. So yes, you want to keep always, you start with your unit of work or your project and you teach the language like you always do. The next lesson, you keep on teaching that same language, so there's lots of repetition until you get to the STEAM activity. And you need to make sure there is repetition and memorization so that then they can use that language in the STEAM activity. Otherwise, they won't be using language. Thank you, Virginia, for your question. I hope that answers.
Thank you, Lucy. Well, most of the comments are just to thank you for this session that we have today on STEAM. There, Lucy Barrientos. Thanks so much, Sarah. I really love your presentation. You're amazing, and I have learned a lot with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lucy. Those are lovely words. Thank you very much, and thank you everyone for your participation, for your great ideas, and for your feedback. Thank you very much. It's been lovely to be here.
So, on behalf of MEXTESOL Mexico City chapter, Sarah, we want to thank you for your participation today, and here we can see some of the. Let me just. This and your certificate of appreciation for this very interesting and important session nowadays that we are working at a distance with young learners. How can we approach the education of the second language with them? So Sarah Hilliard, thank you very much. Thanks to Pearson for their sponsorship and for this magnificent session.
Thank
there
you
are
very
still
much.
some comments here.
Thank you.
There are still some comments here. For example, Max, I think, says, I teach beginner students at university and I have tried these kind of games and they work and enjoy the activities and learn at the same time.
Okay, so
yes, from Guadalupe.
Even students at university then, wow. So we're not just talking about pre-primary, are we? We can go all the way up, can't we? That's fantastic. Yes, STEAM works for everyone. But I know about pre-primary, so that's what I'm giving you today.
So thank you very much. And well, everyone, don't miss the next session, which is going to be an interview with a professional translator. So we'll go to some commercials and we'll be right back.
Bye-bye, thanks.
Hola maestros, yo soy Eduardo Meldo, me da mucho gusto saludarlos. Soy autor de una serie amplia de auxiliares didácticos para la enseñanza del inglés.
Hi.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. How about yourself?
Fine, thank you. Good. So thank you for being here. First of all, our session, it's called How to Become a Translator. And well, first of all, I would like to introduce yourself. So, well, today we're going to be talking to Samuel Ignacio Benítez Osuna, who holds a full-time position at Escuela Normal de Sinaloa, has collaborated with in course design for BA in ELT program, and is a speaking examiner for Cambridge English Language Assessment, and has been a speaker at MEXTESOL conventions, has written for Voices Magazine's IATEFL, and former president of Chapter Sinaloa. Is that right?
Yes, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. And yes, that is right. I have collaborated with some institutions. I'm enjoying every aspect of teaching, English teaching and learning, and I'm glad to be here. So shoot, Erica.
Perfect. So for all of you who are with us today, we will be talking about the steps to become a professional translator. So should you have any questions, just go ahead and post them on the comments section. You can post them on Facebook, and we will be able to read them and ask those questions, okay? So first of all, what does a translator do? Can you enlighten us about that?
Well, basically, everyone is familiar with the term translator, and in general, well, you translate information, you shift or you change information into another language, making sure you maintain the meaning and the full content of the message. But it includes a lot of things. When, back in the Middle Ages, when translation was very, when it started, you would only need to know how to write and read and both languages, But as as technology advances and it becomes a little bit more complex. Obviously, translators are more productive nowadays because of the tools that they have access to. But you need to be able to work with computers, work with word processing software, and you would also have to have a wide or ample knowledge of both languages, the source language and the destination. So it basically it's basically obtaining a message, obtaining information, and moving it into another language, And it's funny because I was when I first started translating, I thought it was more like in the Middle Ages, the knowledge. I mean, you have the knowledge of language one, and you have knowledge of language two, so it's kind of simple. But it goes a lot beyond that because you want to process a lot of information. You want to be able to translate a lot of documents in order for it to be a profitable profession. Yes, so you're facing. I faced a lot of obstacles, technology wise. You have to and there's a lot of tricks that you need to be able to do in order to make your job easier, and as I said, more productive, to become more profitable. Yes?
Sure. So you would say that nowadays translation or a translator is a more complete, like, professional, you would say?
Yes. I am an English teacher, English language teacher, and I am transitioning. I say, because I am not I don't consider myself an expert on translation.
Sure.
I transition, even though I have a certification from the state, and I have done a lot of translated a lot of documents and a lot of voice notes. Also, a translator, it also, we'll talk about this a little bit later, but it also has different fields in proofreading, subtitling. Sometimes we have translators that they use the processing tools, the translating tools, like Google Translator and stuff.
Sure.
And then they have this information, and sometimes they ask other translators to proofread this information. So you're not really translating, you're just revising, editing, and trying to reach those very precise meanings that sometimes escape the automated systems. Yes.
Okay. Good.
Yes, and I mean, to answer the question, I'm sorry.
No, don't
Yes,
worry.
it is a more complex profession, and I think there are diplomados, there are certifications because that are very costly, that are
Yeah.
and that are very complete. That is, they see all the aspects of translating and the tools and different things that us personally are not even aware that exist. But it is all in the efforts of making a quite complete profession or
Sure.
professional in this sense.
I think that the profile nowadays it's more complete because it includes tech savviness as well, as you were mentioning earlier before. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's important to understand that it requires some effort, some to transition. I know we have a lot of English teachers listening to us. Mextizo, the association, is involved with English language teaching, and I know sometimes it's a very, how can I say, it's a very competitive field. That is, there are a lot of teachers out there,
Totally.
in different degrees of efficiency, but there are a lot of teachers, and us as teachers, we're always trying to find other fields in which to, to work and also to make a profit, to make money, to make a living. and and a lot of us, I know a lot of you teachers are looking into the transition into translation and interpretation, and it's a very valid decision or wish or dream or I don't know, or goal, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah.
Because as the world is becoming more connected, there is the diversification of languages ever more present. It started in the 70s or 80s when El Chavo del Ocho was going, and then
Yeah.
then Thalia with Marimar. I don't know,
With
one
the
of those
soap operas, no?
the soap
Yeah.
operas that are so famous, that they were being
Yeah,
that they were
translated
being,
and adapted as well, right?
yes, translated, adapted, subtitled, and
Yeah.
but now, and those were like very high profile, very, very important shows or entertainment. But nowadays, any little piece of information has the capacity to penetrate other languages, other cultures. I mean, it doesn't have to be Mariela del Barrio or something, or Chespirito. It can be even blogs. It can be, if you have a company, if you're selling crafts, or if you're selling cookies, bakery, and you want to,
Yeah.
you want to explore different markets or cultures, then you may have the need to to hire or to get somebody to translate it into maintaining the essence of what you as the creator of the text,
Like
you
the
want.
essence of the product, no?
Yes, and being fiel, as they say, being
Yeah.
loyal to that. Very good.
Okay. So as you say, there are many like options and many opportunities in this field. So can you talk about the ways to access translation? How can we do that transition that you were talking about earlier, about when you are a teacher, from being a teacher, an English language teacher, to a translator? How can you do it? How did you do it, or how would you recommend a teacher who is interested in this?
Well, first of all, you have to dig deep within yourself, and to make an assessment of your skills, your tools, and your desire to pursue that profession. Just as maybe I mentioned bakery. Maybe you bake cookies. Uh, would you go into the bakery business? Okay, why? Just right there, you have first you thought about it and you self-assessed.
Yeah,
Yes, are you good in the kitchen?
I'm good, but I don't think I'm that good. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. First of all, you have to explore. You have to think and look inside and self-assess and say, okay, will I be good at it? Will I know everyone's trying to make a living, and we follow into the economics of it. Okay, I want to be a translator because there's money to be made, or I want to make more money. But as I said, you have to think about, if are you good enough. So
Okay.
it doesn't mean that you have to be perfect, or that but you have to have uh, I don't know, advanced knowledge of both languages,
Sure.
first of all.
So
And
that is like the profile, right? Like
yes,
having a good knowledge of, like, for example, grammar, syntax, morphology,
grammar,
etc. Okay.
syntax, and also culture wise, and
Yeah.
and also a lot of cultural knowledge. I don't I know a little bit of everything, but I don't consider myself a, a librarian, but anyway. But how do you get into that? First, you make an assessment of what your tools are, and you say, okay, I can do it, or I'm willing to try. You
Sure.
don't have to be a perfect baker or world renowned. You can say, okay, I can bake a cake here and there, so I'm going to try it.
Okay.
And if there's, we'll see what's up with that. Okay, once you've made that decision, uh, it's like a business. You open up a business. You call yourself a translator. Not you call yourself, but you start practicing. And obviously, in order to get a certification from the state or from the country, federal or state agencies, or you have to, you have to document, and you have to prove that you have knowledge of both languages. You need a bachelor's degree on some type of language teaching or language knowledge, and also, well, you can uh, look for different diplomados. There's an asociación de
Yeah.
traducción, and you can also look into that. But I know it requires time, and it requires money, and investment in yourself. But as I said, and you can start helping out, communicating with other translators, see if they can, I don't know, give you a document here or there for you to practice. It's kind of like being an
Okay.
intern, you know,
Yeah. So getting
because
like practice. Yeah.
getting your practice and getting some feedback from peers. And as I said, if you want to be a musician, you just get the guitar and you start playing, and you just start getting people to listen to you first and then hire you, right?
Right. So the
So
first thing you would say, it's the self-assessment, to
yes,
read into your profile, right?
yes. And is it something that you are willing to sacrifice time? Okay, because you do have to do a lot of reading, obviously. They give you a document, and I don't know, 10,000 words or 5,000 words. It's like reading a book
Yeah.
for a living, or for profit. And are you into reading? Are you into uh, are you into developing yourself? Getting a grammar book, or just making notes, and if you don't have, if you don't wish to pursue the formal formation, the formal academics, you can go to a school, un diplomado, una licenciatura, a bachelor's degree, they'll teach you everything, right?
Sure.
But if not, that look into your local authorities, what the requirements are, and just as I said, if you want to be an architect, you need to go to architecture school and get a degree. Yes. What the requirements are, it varies from state, it varies from international. There's an association in the United States that does some certification as well, and get yourself documented. Get yourself recognized locally or internationally, and start moving up. I don't know. I hear a lot of people, wish to become translators. There are some openings, there are some jobs out there, but just like teaching, you have to be good.
Okay.
You have to be good. You have to be willing to perfect, to read, reread, edit, think about it, consult. Okay, how do you write this, or how can I say this? There are different discussion boards online of translators they have threads like, oh, how do you say, I don't know, how do you say abogado defensor or something like that, going into the legal in English. You're like, okay. I know some of them are easy, but then they have discussions on everything and how it varies from country to country, from region to region.
Sure.
And you have to you have to be willing to invest that time. Yes.
So investing time, and so the first thing that you mentioned is again the self-assessment. So what questions would you include in that self-assessment?
Okay, very good. First, I would say beyond the wishes and the goals and the motivation, I would say, do you have good knowledge of the language?
Okay.
Of Spanish and English. Yes, advanced knowledge into, and when I'm talking about language, I'm talking about spelling, mechanics, punctuation, capitalization, all of those aspects in Spanish and English, because you're not always going to be translating into English. You might have a task or a job translated into Spanish.
Yeah.
That's one. I would say number two, another very important one is, are you good with computers? Do you type well?
Are you heavy?
Do you type well? Do you type fast? Do you know a Word document is one of the, it's a very good tool. There are other professional translating tools that they do a lot of the work for you if you know how to use them, right? But Word is it's reliable, and it's one of the mostly used tools. And are you good with Word? Copy, paste, graphs, because sometimes you have documents that have a specific format. That have a chart, that have a table, that have spacing, double spacing, margins. And I know the essence of translation is to maintain the message, but you also have to bring it into a well organized package, or the package in which they sent it to you.
Okay. So keep it true, right? Keep it as true as possible.
Like, let's say, how I'm sure you've seen a birth certificate, right? And a Mexican birth certificate or an American one. Yeah. You know how they have the format, the name, then they have the
spaces, the
spacing and everything. And sometimes you have to create a new document because they don't send it to you in Word. They don't send it to you in one of those typical formats. They may show it might be a screenshot, a picture or something, and you have to type it up.
Oh, okay.
So computer skills is, I would say, number two. And if I had to mention another, I would say different translating tools, softwares that are out there in the market. Some of them are free. Some of them are, They can give you trials if you guys if you're ever interested in, you know, knowing some of these translating tools that are free. Some of them are very expensive, but obviously they are very reliable, and they allow you to process a lot of information, translate a lot of information, because, you know, if you're looking into like 1 page and 2 pages, yes, but you're not going to make a lot of money doing that. You know, you want to go for the
Yeah.
big leagues, you know, like 10,000 words, 20,000 words. And that's just, it's like a full-time job.
I guess so. I guess so. So also you mentioned no that you should like you should be a reader, right? Like you should or you well, I think in this case you must enjoy reading.
Yes, you must enjoy reading. You must enjoy reading. You must enjoy knowledge in general, because I don't know. I have some friends that are translators, and sometimes we share stories, and you know, they give us, you know, medical manuals. You know, sometimes a machine, let's say, I don't know, a welding machine that
Yeah.
has a manual, instructions manual, you know, and
Yeah.
you are you're asked to translate it. So you need to cultivate yourself in that context, you know, in that topic. Like, okay, what is this? In order for you to find the precise word for, I don't know, a drill bit or some type
Yeah.
of
A rig, for example, if talking about oil
bigger,
and yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
big machinery. So
Sure.
you have to be open, and you have to be a reader. You have to be a you have to enjoy knowledge in general, you know, because sometimes the information is not always, I don't know, Harry Potter or everyday
Yeah.
situation, you know. And
No.
and the reason a lot of people or companies are interested in hiring the services of a translator is because they can't do it themselves.
Of course.
So even though they might speak both languages, they're not able to do it themselves because it's so technical, it's so specialized, the meaning and or the words and
Yeah, it's so
the
specific, no?
ideas,
Uh-huh.
the ideas, and they just don't
Yeah.
want to bother you. They don't want to get it wrong. They want to get it right.
Right, of course. And that's where the translators come. So there are many opportunities in this field. Like, which ones or which are the top three field, well, not fields, but branches of translation you would mention
Um,
that you consider are the top three?
from the from my experience, you know, in groups, in discussions, I would say there's a lot of work in subtitling, yes, and transcribing. Like, you know, they give you an audio. Sometimes they have tons of audios, and they give it to you, and for you to transcribe it. And
Okay.
uh, there's subtitling, and translating. Translating legal documents is one of the most common ones because it's so necessary. You know,
Yeah.
it's so
Okay.
necessary, and for for the individual or for the government to do that. Okay,
Okay.
there's a lot of that I think a lot of manuals, instruction manuals that are being that are being demanded. You know, that people are the companies they want that translated either in Spanish to English and English into
Or
Spanish,
both.
depending
Okay.
the company. Also, we are into sometimes we have companies or enterprises that are Chinese, and then they do it into English, and they want you to do it into Spanish, you know, because
Oh,
because they use English as a pivot, you know, as a
to
baseline,
yeah,
and then they move on to other
languages.
languages.
Okay. How
Yes, but
interesting.
are you interested in? Have you ever done any
Yeah,
translating?
actually, I was before prior this pandemic.
I know the interview is about me, but you know, just so we
Oh,
can.
thank you. Yeah, prior to this pandemic, I was about to enter to a diplomado at
Oh, okay.
Ibero, but then this started, and then I had to postpone it a little bit. But yeah, I'm very interested.
Okay. Yes, there are different diplomados, and I really encourage people to study. But you know, the cost is high. It's a very specialized, but I think that once you achieve that certain level of certification, your chances for obtaining big jobs or big companies to hire you as a translator, are increased, astronomically. Yes,
Okay,
because
that's cool.
there are other, just a short commercial. There are a lot of translating agencies around the world that you can look for, and you can send in your resume, and then they evaluate it. Obviously, most of the people that are hired are people who have some formal training, some formal academic schooling.
Yeah, of course. Okay, and I've got a question from the audience, which says, let me look for it. It says, where in Mexico City can I take a course in translation so I can get a certificate? If it's online, it'd be great.
Yes. In Guadalajara, there's la Asociación de Traductores, and just Google it, and they have opening diplomados in face-to-face or virtual in Mexico. That's the one that I know. Mexico City has others. Which one did you look into?
The one at Ibero.
Okay. Yes, you mentioned it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's very good. Like I like the program, and yeah, it's very good.
Yeah,
but it's expensive though.
And it's very. I would like to. I have never studied. I study on my own, and I do a lot of reading on that. But I have seen the plans, the programs, and they're very interesting. But maybe I'm studying something right now, so I can't get into that.
Oh, is there one that you would recommend the most, like from the ones that you have already visited or the ones that you have already reviewed?
Yes. I'm going to leave. I mean, I can leave the link later today.
Oh, okay, great. That would be great.
I will share with you the link.
Perfect. So, well, I think it's time to go to watch something, and we're going to go to a commercial, and then we will come back and we can continue with the questions from the audience. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Hola maestros, yo soy Eduardo Meldo, me da mucho gusto saludarlos. Soy autor de una serie amplia de auxiliares didácticos para la enseñanza del inglés.
All right. So we're back, and I've got some questions from the audience. The first one is, hello, to be able to translate a document or a text from a document and add it to the thesis or an important investigation, does the person have to own a certificate that states their knowledge or capacity in translation?
Well, this is a question that is asked many times. Does the translation need to be certified? It all depends on the institution that is accepting it, or that is demanding it, or that is requesting it. Sometimes they do not ask for a certification. They ask for the translations. Sometimes they do. We also have a lot of documents that for students that wish to study a master's degree or a doctorate in another country, in an English-speaking country, and they are asked to translate their studies, but they ask for a certified translation.
Sorry.
If it's for a course for the university that you're studying or something, it all depends on the professor or and the dean, whether they accept it or not.
So if it's official, then yes, no, I would say the answer is yes. If
Yes.
it's something non-official, then the answer would be no, right?
Yes, that would be the answer.
Thank you. I've got another question from the audience that says, so the profile would be 1, original on target language, high proficiency, spelling, grammar, punctuation. 2, computer skills. 3, translating tools like lingui.com. Along the way, we have to keep in mind to do research on the topic to be worked. Number 5, make a glossary that you'll be referring to along the translation. 6, make it sound English rather than Spanish, considering passive voice, idiomatic expressions. And 7, after hours, let the translation rest and take it over the following day. You'll see things differently.
Oh, wow. How thorough, Hilda.
Would you agree with this?
Yes, I would totally agree with that. And actually, it's very complete. And in the translating tools, lingui.com is a website. There are other tools that are software that is downloadable and that work more or less like a graphic designer, like CorelDRAW or Photoshop, that you download it and then you work with the documents, and then they produce the translated documents. Obviously, some of them are free, others that you have to pay for.
Okay, good. And talking about, for example, we have already talked about more or less how to get into this field. We can get a diplomado, we can get trained actually. And we already said that it's costly. Well, some of these courses are costly, right? So, and well, to continue with that topic of money, what are the benefits or like the payments? Would you say that it is well paid?
It is well paid, and if you have the enough work, yes. For example, if you're a well-known translator, or if you're working for a company, it's very common that translators work for an agency. Yes, an agency that receives documents from numerous enterprises or government, and then they dish it off or they pass it on to their translators. Actually, I am actually working for a translation service company, and we do a lot of translations for public schools in the United States. So a lot of documents they're given to the translation service agency, and then there are like, I don't know, 50, 40 translators from English to Spanish, Spanish English pair. But yes, it is. And what makes it more how you're going to gain more is by having the right tools, the right knowledge that'll allow you to process a lot of information, a lot of documents. If you're having trouble on a sentence basis, on commas, and it's going to take you forever to translate one document. Suppose, I don't know, a full page, I don't know, like 500, 700 words. And it depends how much time it takes you to do that. The rates, the world rates in Spanish English pair go from 3 to 5 cents a word. So if you want to get a ballpark assessment of what it's worth, that's what agencies pay 3 cents to 5 cents. If you're well paid, 5 cents, 4 cents. But
Good.
on a local basis, working for the state government or working for doing legal state documents, it varies because there are so few cases, so few demands of translations that translators choose to charge high because we get so few demands, so few requests. So yes, I think you have to make a lot of you have to work at broadcasting yourself, getting people to know you, getting, I don't know, put up a website, I don't know, Google ads, some type of stuff. Right now, a lot of it is in the internet, how Google analytics and your web page, and invest a little money on that, on Facebook, for people to easily find you through the Google search engine or Facebook query.
Very good. So you would say that networking it's very important to a translator, for a translator.
Yes, actually, it is. That would be another skill that you would have to have more on the marketing side, because you may have work or documents not from Mexico, from other countries that are wishing to do it into Spanish. You're not looking at only Culiacan or Sinaloa or Ciudad de Mexico. Once you go on the web, it's just worldwide. But yes, I would say you would need to do a little bit of SEO, that you would have to have a little bit of knowledge on how to promote yourself through the web.
Okay.
But it is well paid. I think it is well paid. Not in my case, but I think it's a well paid job. As I said, you need to be professional. If you ask a professional soccer player, is it good? Are you making good money? Well, it depends on how good you are.
Sure.
If you're Ronaldo, Cristiano Ronaldo, then it's really good. But if you're playing soccer in the local neighborhood, then you're not making any money.
Very good. Very good analogy. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
I would just I would like to invite everyone to, just as any desire, any dream, any motivation that you have to become a translator, or any other goal in your life, you need to get to work. You need to make a plan, start doing it, start doing step 1, step 2, start reading, look in your local town, what are the requirements, what are your set of skills, do they fit the requirements, and will you be able to be a productive translator? Because sometimes we become demotivated and discouraged, at the at getting no effort or no benefit or no, from our efforts. But I would say, don't wait to get the full certification. The full certification it's a high cost. I would recommend it, and I do recommend it. But you would have to do a lot of translating before you jump into that, in order for you to fully absorb and to fully use all that information. You have to have some experience.
Okay.
And look online on translating jobs, and just start clicking and clicking, and don't be afraid.
And if for those people who want to start getting into this field, or as you were saying before, this transition, is there like are there books that you can recommend, or bibliography that you can recommend?
Yes, I would recommend to look for the translating techniques. Yes, because there are certain techniques that make your job easier, or different perspectives on translating. Also, do not be afraid to do a tutorial on Google Translator. Do a tutorial here on Word documents. Yes, but
Okay.
a book, I would say it's more academic at this point. Yes, and
Yeah.
and all the book is going to tell you is give you the techniques and some examples and some exercises. Yes, but I would say us.
Oh, I think I've lost Samuel. Okay, we're going to go to a few commercials because I think we've got a few issues with Samuel's connection.
A toda la comunidad de la Asociación Mexicana de Maestros de Inglés MEXTESOL, nos sentimos agradecidos en Puebla por haber sido seleccionados para llevar a cabo la edición 48ª de su Convención Nacional en el año 2021. En esta hermosa ciudad contamos con una extraordinaria conectividad tanto aérea como terrestre. A solo 90 minutos está la Ciudad de México. A 200 kilómetros a la redonda de Puebla se encuentran más de 40 millones de habitantes que se pueden desplazar fácilmente en vehículo para llegar a este destino. Contamos con una infraestructura hotelera de primer nivel con más de 13,000 habitaciones en la ciudad, que por cierto, en el año 1987 fue nombrada por la UNESCO como Patrimonio Mundial de la Humanidad por sus más de 2,600 edificios históricos, que son majestuosos. Somos cuna de la gastronomía, una ciudad que simplemente lo tiene todo. Historia, modernidad, cultura y por supuesto diversión. Estamos seguros que en Puebla, en conjunto con ustedes, realizaremos la edición más importante de MEXTESOL en su historia. Los invito a ver este video y conocer un poco más de nuestro hermoso estado. Bienvenidos.
Me llamo Mónica, soy poblana y artesana. Cada vez que trabajo la colorida talavera siento que cuento una historia, y aunque utilizo mis manos siempre me guía el corazón. Me inspira lo que veo todos los días en Puebla, sus hermosos edificios coloniales, la diversidad de sus municipios y de sus pueblos mágicos. No importa cuántas veces los mire, sus paisajes me siguen robando el aliento. También me inspira lo que escucho. Desde el llamado a la aventura de sus zonas arqueológicas hasta los secretos que me susurran sus bibliotecas y sus monumentos. ¿Y qué me dicen de sus sabores? Créanme, Puebla es la cocina de México. El mole poblano, las chalupas, el tradicional mole de caderas, las semitas, los dulces típicos y nuestros emblemáticos chiles de nogada. Pero entre tanta belleza lo que más me inspira es la sonrisa de la gente. Es un milagro que te permite abrazar la historia de cientos de años en un mismo instante. Es presenciar las maravillas que los hombres creamos y las que nos fueron regaladas. Tal vez por eso la llaman Puebla de Los Ángeles, porque venir a Puebla es tocar un pedacito de cielo. Es dejarse sorprender por la belleza de sus desiertos, sus bosques y sus cascadas, que nos cuentan la importancia de la herencia cultural que se transmite de generación en generación. En Puebla somos cultura y diversión, la esencia del pasado y la promesa del futuro, el alma que palpita detrás de cada obra de arte, un mosaico de emociones que te erizan la piel. Me gustaría que todo el mundo viniera a conocer lo que yo veo a diario, porque estoy segura de que se enamorarán de Puebla y se llevarán a casa mucho más que una artesanía. Se llevarán una gran historia que jamás olvidarán.
Puebla, el patrimonio de México.
Oh, I'm sorry. Something, the internet went off.
Yeah, I know. It happens. Don't worry. Thank you for coming back. So, you were saying that some of the books, some of the book recommendations, but you were saying also that the best thing is to just do it, right?
Yes, and to look for translating techniques. Some of the translating techniques, it's if you do a Google search, you may find a lot of websites because I have found. And on the diplomado or on the formal schooling for translators, we have the Organización Mexicana de Traductores. They have a diplomado online, diplomado en traducción jurídica en línea, diplomado en traducción general en línea, en aulas virtuales. So there are some options. That's the one that I was meaning to tell you about. Organización Mexicana de Traductores. It's an association of Mexico of translators. Obviously, to share information and to continue developing this profession into a more efficient and precise services,
Great. So just before we wrap up this session, I would like to start with to see if we've got more questions from the audience. So yeah, okay, we have that one. Some you mentioned, and they send you their work for you to check it. These translations are sometimes very poor and difficult to read. What do you think? How do you handle those, both in terms of payment and in terms of the work you do?
Well, that would, if they have sent you the translation already, or are they talking about documents, original documents?
I think it's when they want you, they have already done the work,
okay,
and then you
proofread it.
To proofread it, exactly. That would be the term.
Yeah, proofreading rates are lower, obviously, because you don't have to. But if it's a very complicated translation that has been done, which is basically going to take more effort or just as much effort translating it than proofreading it, then you do you charge as a translation. Yes, but some people, they opt for the apps, the translating apps, and it gives them a 70-75% translation, and those are it's I think it helps you as a translator that there's some work already done in some cases, but because the pay is so low, because sometimes the person, they think that they have translated it already, and they are not willing to pay as much as they should, which is basically the high degree of precision is what is, it's the most difficult part. Yes, it's kind of like the high quality translation that is worth the money, or the profession is offering. So I have done a lot of them. Sometimes they have given me some documents for me to translate, to do an estimate, una cotización, how much.
Okay.
So I send them an estimate, and sometimes they wish to do it themselves.
Yeah.
And just send me the document because of the certification that we have. They say, "Oh, I'm going to send you all the work translated. You proofread it and certify it."
Like approve it. Let's say.
Yes, and sometimes, obviously, because they want to save themselves on the cost, on the services. But I always tell, if I have to do a lot of editing and a lot of revision, and I'm going to charge you as if it was a translation. So just send it to me
Sure.
translated, and then I will give you some feedback on it and say, okay, it has too many mistakes. So I rather just start from scratch, and I'll do it my own. Okay.
Okay.
But some of them are pretty accurate. Others are pretty accurate, so all you have to do is check on the mechanics, punctuation, sometimes the degree of formality. As I said, there's a difference of everyday language from uh, academic language, legal language,
Medical. Yeah.
medical, professional, specialized language. And sometimes there are people who do the translation themselves, but lack this I don't know, professionalism, language, specialized language, and
Yeah.
that's where we come in. And as I said, if it takes too much effort, then I'll rather just start from scratch, from zero, and I'll do it all myself. I'll do everything
Perfect.
myself. Yes.
I've got this question. What's the most difficult translation you've ever done? If you had to pick one, which one would you choose?
Well, I have a friend. He's from Nayarit, and he's an English teacher, as I am, from working for a Escuela Normal de Nayarit. I work for Escuela Normal de Sinaloa. And he was giving some manuals on I guess a Mexican company makes this titanium for broken arms, broken legs. They are
Yeah.
prótesis.
For prosthetics, right? Uh-huh.
Yes.
How interesting.
And he said, "Hey, help me out." And I said, "Okay." And so he gave me some of the instruction manuals on how to insert, install, a very surgical, a lot of language, surgical, a lot of anatomy, a lot of tools, instruments, that it was very difficult. Not difficult, but it took a lot of
time, right?
It took a lot of time for me. And because he was given an estimate, or I gave him an estimate, that it was more or less, I don't know, a good estimate, but it turned out to be just a hell of a job. It was like there was a paragraph, and it would take me, I don't know, 5-10 minutes, and just I would have to go back and just the screws, the bolts, the holes, the I don't know,
veins, I suppose,
yeah,
nerves,
clavicle, and collarbone, and a lot of surgery words. But it was a very challenging job for me, but I enjoyed it. As I said, I learned a lot from it. I would have to read, and I would have to go to because it was so specialized. The tools, or the parts of the humerus, the femur, the tibia, the fibula, that I was like, okay, is this how you say it in English? Is this how you say it in Spanish? I have heard it before, but then the screwdriver, the bolts, it's just a lot of lexical difficulty.
Jargon,
yeah, jargon, and that I would have to consult, and I would be consulting, because
back and forth, right?
I'm not a doctor, but I think we did a good job on it after a lot of revising, re-editing, editing, and rereading and rewriting. But I enjoyed it because you learned, and then you kind of you jump into the profession itself. I mean, you're not going to be a doctor or a surgeon, but then you start after a while, because we did like 30 instruction manuals. After a while, you're kind of like immersed into that atmosphere of surgery, and I don't know. It was it was challenging.
It was challenging, I guess. Good.
But yes, that was, and sometimes we do other stuff, like we're doing some translations on special education in the United States. The government provides it, and it does a very good job on providing special education for children at school, with special needs, okay, or challenged in some way. And they, after every 2 or 3 months, the public schools, they have to send a report home on how the kids are doing, on this special education program that they have programs, and that every kid has a different need, they're special in some way, but in some, some of them have autism, and some of them have a physical disability, and some of them have a language disability, and some, visual, and then after every couple of months or 3 months, they send a report home in English, but it is by law that they have to send it in the mother tongue of the family. So we have there's a lot of Venezuelans, Puerto Ricans, Mexicans in that part of the
so
country.
There's plenty of job.
Yeah, so they send me all the reports in English, and then I have to send them in Spanish and stuff. But it's interesting because you're learning a lot of how they deal with that. It's very interesting on how they deal with those special cases. Yes, and it's very and how they advance, and some of them don't advance. So you're just sitting there and just reading the report on your kids, and it's interesting, and it's kind of like I enjoy it a lot.
It sounds very interesting. Sounds like something I would like to do. Very good.
Well, thank you for me. Maybe I can give you
sure. Thank you.
At a low rate.
Of course.
No, I'm just
I really appreciate it. So
okay.
I would really like to thank you for this enlightening conversation. Thank you. It was very, very interesting, and I think you provided us with very important and good information. And on behalf of MEXTESOL Ciudad de Mexico chapter, we would like to award you with the certificate. Thank you for your time. Thank you for all your information.
Okay.
And thank you. Really, really.
All right. And before we go, I would like to invite you to look into my Facebook fan page, Benítez Traducción e Interpretación. There are some examples, or you can contact me directly through there, and maybe I can help you out. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. Very good. Have a good day. Okay?
Thank you. You too. And for those of you who are with us, thank you. And we will see you next Saturday starting at 8:30 a.m.